you know, and obviously meeting you and Sandy in the at the radio show, you know, that was great because you know, I knew you were the host, but I didn't know you. I didn't know you had a band. I didn't know you'd sings. And then Sandy popped around the corner, and he was like, "Nice slide playing." I was like, "All right," like that. And then we went for a drink, didn't we?
Yeah. Pub around the corner. It was such a nice. The whole it's a real sort of community, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, for me to be able to find people that are into the blues, because it was still, you know, if you're younger, which of course you said like going back how many years it was, there wasn't a huge amount of people actually doing it when you're younger. It is more as you get older. Yeah. So it was just so nice to find people that were also so into the blues.
Some weird
and
club,
got it.
It? Some weird club.
Little niche set of people. But to have that sort of community that we all became was just fantastic, wasn't it?
No, it was great, you know, and you know, I was like, you know, Tony and Sam and Ollie and all the you know, and the other bands that you interviewed were amazing as well, and that was a real it was almost like a little club, wasn't it, you know?
And they were all very everyone was generous at sharing ideas and thoughts, and would hook up and go and support each other watching their gigs, and which was really nice. So what I want to know as well, so obviously I know that you obsessively play guitar all the time, like Sandy does, and always wanting to learn new things, and always buying guitars and equipment constantly. Totally. But I do know the person for you that is especially important for you is Peter Green.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
So what was it in particular about him that just made such an impression?
Well, I mean, that's going back to sort of meeting Ned as well, and because again he had this encyclopedic knowledge of things you didn't know about, and I think one of the first times I went up there, or around that time, he gave me I think it's the Shrine '69 live album. It was obviously would have been 1969. Fleetwood Mac in America somewhere, and he was like, "Listen to that." You know, when people would go, "Listen to that," and they really mean listen to it and learn it as well. Yeah. You know, take it in, and as soon as you put it on, it's like, "Well, what's this all about?" You know, and it's just his actual playing is something else. It's almost mystical, isn't it? For me it is as well. It's like the tone and the touch, the feel, just how he plays. You know, there's just these people talk about phrase like a technical thing, but it's like someone speaking. It is like someone speaking to you, or even having a conversation with themselves. You know, it could be a quiet conversation, or it could just be a raucous conversation. You know. And it is what people say about it is the feeling, isn't it? It's the feeling of his playing.
You feel he's giving his soul, don't you, when he's playing? You feel it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you can play those. I can play those notes. Anyone can play the same notes that he plays, but you never sound like him. You never, in a million years, ever sound like that. You can try again, get all the equipment you want. I've got my Peter Green vintage guitar out there with the out of phase thing to sound like that, but I can't sound like that, you know, because there's only one person who can play like that and sound like that, and you see the interviews with him, and he literally admits that he didn't know what he was doing, you know, and it was in him. It was a natural thing to do, and it just had to come out, and I think obviously his story as well. It's pretty sad, even though you see interviews with him afterwards, and he seems to have been okay with what's happened in his life, you know, or what happened in his life, but it's the regret of thinking, wow, what could he have done, you know, at such a young age, to 1970, 71, to pretty much not be able to do what he was doing before, and then have years of mental health issues, which probably at the time wouldn't have been treated correctly, and just led a life of, I read the other day he works at a petrol pump. He was a petrol pump attendant, and what? You're pulling up in the car and Peter Green's doing that in 1979 or something. What's all that about? That's just crazy. What a life to go from, a revered genius whose band were outside in the Beatles to petrol pump attendant. And he seemed to be okay with that, but obviously it wasn't, because you listen to Man of the World. I remember when we came to the station, we played that. And you listen to the lyrics of that and you think, that's not fake, that's not like for record sales. He actually means that, That's it's tragic, horrifying almost that someone feels like that and it wasn't dealt with, and he dealt with probably self-medication with whatever things were around at the time, which obviously didn't help. And then I think we saw him, me and Ned saw him in the 90s in Catford, and that was kind of sad because he was in the background and he was trying to play, and you could tell it's Peter Green, but it's not.
He wasn't there really.
Not Peter Green of 1969 or 70. But yeah, he did all right. I can't remember what song they played at the end because he'd quite been in the shadows the whole song, and then there was a fella behind us who was kind of slagging off, this is rubbish, no one paying ticket for, and it's like, do you know what this fella's been through? It's just to even be on the stage is an achievement, is an accomplishment. It's the main thing. And I think, I can't remember what song he played at the end, and something happened, and he just stepped forward and just played this amazing guitar solo. I don't even know if they had a flashback or something, and we were like that. And this fella behind us, he'd left. He'd left, and we were like, yeah, go on, sod off, because he spent the whole show slagging him off, but he still had it. He still had it in there. There was still something there. So it's worth it, even for those 10 or 15 seconds moments. That he was like, wow, you still you can still do it, And he did go on. He did go on for another 10, 15 years or so, didn't he? I think, and then just led a quiet life fishing and
in Canvey Island we discovered yesterday.
I read, because I think it was, who's got his guitar now? I think Kirk Hammett from Metallica's got his guitar, hasn't he? And I think he visited him just before they did the tribute show a few months ago. So Kirk Hammett took the guitar to Peter Green. Apparently he walked in, he went, "That's not my guitar." And it's and everyone, and it's kind of funny because everyone reveres Peter Green, everyone reveres that guitar.
Yeah.
He couldn't care less. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
It's
not guitar. It was just an instrument.
It was
just a thing. But I was really sad when we found out last week that he passed away. But the great thing is that the amount of respect and love that's been shown since then, that you because you think, this is someone who was famous 50 years ago. Who knows him now? But it was on the news. It was on the front page of newspapers and things. Like, oh well, that was pretty cool. So at least there's there is a bit of love and respect there. But to play like that, impossible. But you can.
But is that who you often have in your mind though when you're doing when you're playing or when you're coming up with solos, or is there a bit of
I think I think so, because it's even though I don't adhere to it, it's like less is more, isn't it? Because with one or two notes you can say a lot with one or two notes, and that was, and again reading interviews with him, it would be like, I can play fast, I can do all this flash stuff, but don't need to, I don't want to, why would you do that? And people who watch me play will see that I overplay quite a lot of the time, and that's because I've got no self-control. But but then sometimes when you feel you think, no, try and play a little bit less, because you're overplaying, and when you watch it back, you think, oh, what were you doing? What were you trying to achieve by that? You don't need to do that. So it can be that certainly tone, certainly getting a good tone. And just trying to play a little bit less and with more thought and with more feeling. I think that's what you have to take from that. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah.